Hey, Sivan here. Welcome to the third tutorial of this playlist. In this one we're going to talk about how to break apart and sort of use and manipulate the different components of objects and primitives and see how they work. So, first thing is something I forgot to put in the previous video is focusing on objects. So if I move this object, say for example over here, so it's no longer in the center, when I rotate, I'm still rotating around that midpoint, so I'm not sort of looking at my object. I can pan to it, but the faster option is if I just press F on my keyboard for frame or focus, that will then zoom in and make that object the new sort of point of orient, center pivot, whatever you want to call it. It's the new point to rotate around. You can do this for one object, multiple objects. If you have nothing selected and you press F, it will focus on whatever is in the whole scene. So if you've got hundreds of objects spread out across the whole area and press F, it will then focus on the center of all of them combined. But if I focus on this one, I can then focus on it and sort of rotate around it in the middle. So back to the main content of this lesson. So I'm going to start with a cube. I'm just going to use Q to get my tools out of the way so I can see the object clearly. So what we're going to look at is how do we now actually kind of move this object around. How do we sort of use it and build upon it? So if we hold down right click on an object, we get a menu. The top settings around here, so I've still got right click held down, and then I'm just dragging over my options. These are our components. So by default we are in object mode. That's how we kind of move it as a whole. We're going to start from the lowest component and we're going to work our way up to the highest component. So the lowest is a vertex. So vertex is basically just a point in space that has an X, Y and Z coordinate. Without these kind of pink dots, it's not visible. So this is our lowest element. So what we can do, our transformation tools, they are relevant to everything. So I have a vertex selected. I can then translate, rotate, scale my different components. If you only have one selected, you can't do certain things because there's not enough information to sort of base it on. So I can't scale a single vertex because it's not actually physically there. Same with I can't rotate it, but I can move it. So with my W, I can kind of translate it how I want. The other tools, to get them to kind of work, you would need to select multiple. The way I just selected that, I marqueed. Marking, you have to be very careful. If your object's complex, it's got lots of kind of faces spread across the whole thing. If you marquee, the chances are, so if I marquee like this, I've then grabbed the one at the bottom. So you sometimes have to be careful with marqueing. The best option is to normally just hold down Shift and you'll get your little plus sign and you can add two selections. Alternatively, good idea is in your foreviews, if you know there's nothing sort of in your way, then you can marquee selections that way. So I wanted to grab just these two. I can grab them just here. There are those two. So we've got our standard translate, but we can also rotate them as well as we can scale them, as well as you can do it for the whole top, or they kind of just build on top of each other. So that's the lowest component. Next component, build on top of that, is an edge. So basically we need at least two vertexes to make an edge. It's just the join between two vertexes. So same again, the tool works, but we have more control sort of right from the base level, so we can scale, rotate, and move one edge. I'll just show you on a kind of more complex object. So I'm going to make a polygon cylinder, and what I want to do is in my channel box, so I've got the channel box open, in my inputs I want to, in the height, up it to 10, just so we kind of have something to play with. So we looked at Vertex, so I can marquee, and I can grab a sort of ring of vertexes there. But what I can also do in edge, if you double click one edge, it will then also select that whole edge loop. It will only do a loop, so say for example if I double click this one, because all of these faces are going into triangles and into a single point, it doesn't know which way to come out the other side. So because it doesn't know, it will just stop. So it won't always do a whole loop. It will try and sort of do its best. So here it will do the whole edge loop. Another type of selection with this, if you single click one, hold down shift and double click somewhere further around the loop, it will select all of the edges between those two selections, kind of depending on what you want to do. So let's move on to the sort of next component. So we've done vertex, which is just a point in space. We've got an edge, which is the sort of join between at least two vertexes. After that, we have a face. So the lowest possible face you can have is 3 edges, which will obviously give you a triangle or a try. So I have it up here, tries. When you're modeling, you pretty much only want tries and quads, so 4-sided or 3-sided. They pretty much will work in every engine, and also when you have anything higher, so 5 sides or more is known as an n-gon, n being unknown number. It changes the way the lights work, it changes how the objects would work in a games engine. So pretty much at all costs you want to avoid an n-gon. It's better to have a model with a mixture of tries and quads than have lots of n-gons dotted around your model. So back to face mode. Same again. The difference, kind of just to point out the difference between the way mine looks and the way yours will most likely look, is I have a type of selection turned on. What it basically does is normally, so kind of we'll just flick the setting on and off. So under Window, Settings, Preferences, and Preferences, and then on the left we have Selection. There's a Polygon Selection, select faces with center or whole face. By default, you're going to be on whole face. The problem with this, if I kind of, say for example, I will show you this one, it's nice and easy. If I wanted to just grab this top one, but I wanted to do a quick, I just kind of marqueed it, it will marquee all of these faces around. If I have this setting turned on, and then I try and do that same selection, it now only selects that top face. This is because it's basing it on that little square in the middle. So to select the actual face, you have to select that little dot in the middle. Same again, purely a preference thing. I find it easier to kind of do quick selections and grab components with that turned on. So up to you. If you want it turned on, it's under Window, Settings, Preferences, Preferences, and then Selection, and either center or whole face. Whole face is default, center is the one that I'll be using. So, faces. What we've got, same as before, we can kind of just marquee a ring of faces. Alternatively, single click, double click the one next to it with shift, and that will do the whole ring. Or same as with an edge as well, select one, shift, double click, and it will select all the bits in between. With this, we also have some extra options to kind of grow or shrink our selection. So there's kind of two ways to do it. One way is you hold down Control, right click, and you have grow and you have shrink. So this is kind of another menu. It has almost every tool that's in Maya can be found in these quick menus that are stored under different sort of key combinations. I will show you a few different ones kind of as the videos go on. So this one's under Control, right click, and then you've got grow or shrink. So if we grow, it will then grow one face in all directions. So you do need to be a little bit kind of cautious with it. And then same again, you have shrink. And then the other way to do it is your greater than or less than on your keyboard. So the kind of little sideways arrows, they should be above your comma and your full stop. So if you hold shift and then greater than or less than, you're then gonna add to your or shrink or grow your selections. So that's kind of another way to do it. So they're the different components. That's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to look at how to actually use this as a building block and add and kind of expand what we have. So see you there.